are listening to On the Topic. Is it turpentine? Is it turpentine? Should I be putting my dick in Ovaltine? Or snorting a bag of Dramamine? Probably not. I'm Dan.
I've got some bad news, Dan, because I think I have fallen in love with this album.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Or have I? What we talk about this week, Dan? I mean, you've posed this one. This was against the listeners' advice.
What do they know?
They know an awful lot. So don't go saying that. We want those listens and streams and subscribes. But in all joking aside, actually, you did a poll, didn't you, on Instagram, and there wasn't much take up, and what was take up wasn't particularly positive.
No.
But yet, contrary to that, we've actually had quite a lot of listener input, haven't we?
We have. So this week we're going to be reviewing Blink-182's One More Time.
One More Time.
And I mean, last outing where I reviewed a Blink album, I was on my own, so it's good to have you by my side this time.
Yes, and this time I have listened to it, and I have got some thoughts, and I should go into this being absolutely transparent, because a lot of people will be hardcore Blink fans. I'm a fan of Blink, and I've in a true sense grew up listening to them, which might explain an awful lot. Same as you, Dan. I also love pop punk.
Yeah.
So this is thoroughly in my wheelhouse, but I wouldn't say I'm a massive Blink fan. So it might sound a bit wishy-washy when I talk about them. It won't be the same way that Dan talks about them, because I guess you are that. How would you describe your love for Blink, actually?
I mean, I got into them when I was around 15 years old, and I followed their careers ever since. They probably came to my life at the right time, to be honest. Sort of more on a personal level, I just lost my nan. I suppose I sort of lost my way a little bit. Always getting into trouble. So, yeah, I also didn't really fit in well at school with a lot of people. And I think Blink, sort of having that angsty band, sort of got me into things like playing the guitar and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It sort of kept me out of trouble when I was getting into trouble.
Oh, yeah?
Just doing naughty things, really, like prank phone calls, being a bit of a douche, you know, when I should have been. You know, I'm a nice young man, really.
Did you ever do that? Do you have any sleepovers? Maybe just me, and you'd be in a room, boys and the girls. You know, before it was ill-advised that you should be with boys and girls, and you'd have mobiles, and you'd go hoo hoo hoo. You put 141 in front of the number. In the UK, if you put 141, it masks the number, so caller ID doesn't show. And you'd go around the room saying, "Oh, let's drop call someone," or let's do a prank call, and all it is you just calling someone. They're going, "Hello," because it's like, I don't know, 12:30, midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and everyone giggles and then puts down the phone.
Yeah.
And it's. Did you ever do that?
I did, yeah.
It's terrible, really, isn't it?
Classic game of knock door run as well, especially
late at night. Oh, you bad man!
Not fun.
Someone did that to me now. I'll
be fuming.
I'd be putting my shoes on. I'll be barefoot, running down the street, gonna give him a piece of my mind.
I don't know if people do that these days. Do they? I mean, we're talking like the early noughties. This is before the internet boomed and there was no social media or anything like that. There was nothing really that was out there to entertain us. You know, kids have got it great these days. You've got computer games, you've got Netflix, Disney Plus,
yeah, the
Tinterweb, and all that other crazy.
Yeah, you're right. We had sticks and a bike,
skateboards as well. I got into skateboarding because of Blink. I quit after about a year because I just really hurt myself. I just was like, nah, this isn't worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to do a kickflip, ended up bailing on my arse and like gashing my legs up and cutting my elbows. Like, no, that's it. I'm done now. Had a hissy fit and I was like, never again.
Giving it up.
Yeah.
But I think Blink also kind of, it backs the underdog, the band. Don't you think? Like they're not like, they're mainstream, but they're almost like anti-mainstream.
Yeah, I mean, that's what punk was all about, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, Blink know they've sold out. They know they've boomed. But, I mean, they talk about it in the Zane Lowe interview. I don't know if you've had a chance to talk about it. But
no, not yet.
They've all come from, difficult childhoods. Families breaking up, getting divorced, and all that stuff. And Tom sort of explained it in a way I was like, yeah, I get it. He says Blink is forcing the happiness in the room.
That's an interesting way of putting it.
Yeah. Not that all of their songs are happy.
No.
Well, not on this album anyway, but I mean, Enema of the State was brilliant. That was the album that I went, oh.
Yeah.
So this is what it's about.
Special.
And of course, I think the year I got into them and found Enema of the State through, ironically, my mum, because she loved All the Small Things.
Okay.
And then my cousin was like, oh yeah, you know that song All the Small Things? Well, this is the album. Come over and listen to it. And I was like, right, okay. So I went over to his house and I loved it so much I went out and bought it with my pocket money the following week, and then I saved up really hard to get the Mark, Tom and Travis show.
Tape or CD?
Oh, CD.
CD.
I've still got the old I mean, they're all tattered now,
dog-eared and crumpled.
Well listened to, especially through my youth.
Yeah. Did you have the personal CD player that would be too big for your pockets, but you jam in there anyway?
Yeah,
it's great. And then skip.
You take it to college or school. You'd have it in your bag. If you move just awkwardly, it would go.
Yeah.
Boop, boop.
Yeah.
Well, annoying, but what a time.
Simpler time. None of the MP3s. But anyway, talk about simpler times. Yes, the album. So, Dan, what's the order of business today?
Let's do a little synopsis first, then we'll take you through the personnel, all the technical stuff, artwork, studios, length time, all that stuff, and then we'll sort of talk about the tracks.
Yeah, cool.
So, synopsis, One More Time is the 9th studio album by Blink-182, released on October the 20th, 2023 through Columbia Records. The album marks the second return of guitarist vocalist Tom DeLonge, reuniting their classic lineup for the first time in 7 years.
Wow. Doesn't time fly, eh?
This will be their first album together as well since 2011's Neighbourhoods.
Okay,
It's been that long, yeah. But the last album would have been 2019, which was 9 with Matt Skiba.
Yep.
After bassist vocalist Mark Hoppus received a cancer diagnosis in 2021, the three reconvened to overcome old disputes, leading to Tom DeLonge rejoining. So personnel, we got Mark Hoppus on vocals and bass, Tom DeLonge on vocals and guitars, and Travis Barker on drums. He was also the producer, and he does vocals, Alex. This is like the first time.
I've seen him, I think there was it must be the algorithms and the things that you're sharing, because I think there was an Instagram reel of him in front of the mic singing.
Yeah, he was singing Fuckface.
Yes, yeah.
Also does vocals on One More Time and backing vocals on Fell in Love,
which I like.
Yeah, banger. Other musicians, we've got Kevin Bavona, who does a lot of the piano, synthesizers, keyboards, strings and backing vocals. Probably so subtle on the backing vocals you probably wouldn't even notice him, to be honest. He's also a multi-instrumentalist and audio engineer, best known for his work with Tim Armstrong's various musical projects, particularly the Transplants and Rancid.
I know those.
Do you remember Transplants?
I do.
Travis Barker and Tim Armstrong.
They've gone bad.
Diamonds and Guns?
Not so much.
The song.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a long time ago. I haven't seen anything from Transplants for a long time. On the technical stuff, you've got Aaron Rubin, who's the co-producer, recording engineer, and also has some writing credits. Aaron Rubin is also well known for his work with Angels and Airwaves, Tom DeLonge's side hustle, and his brother Ilan. You've got Kevin Thrasher Gruft, who's the recording engineer.
What a great name.
Actually, there's a few recording engineers. You've got Nicholas Morzov, Kevin Bavona, Eric Emery, and John Warren. Adam Hawkins on mixing. There's a lot of co-producers. You've got Nick Long, Ryan Tedder, Mark Spike Stent.
Excellent name.
Andrew Goldstein and Brian Lee. And Tim Armstrong. Oh my God, there's a load. There's a lot of personnel here. You've got Dan Brook, who's the bass engineer. And on mixing, you've got Serban Ganea. I think I've done that justice.
Probably not.
Never do on this programme. Bryce Borden, and mastering was Randy Merrill.
Got a question for you. As a non-musician, What does a bassist engineer do?
Well,
is this just, I'll be quite rude now and disparaging, but is this just someone who just tunes a bass and just hands over to the musician?
I think there might be more to it.
There's got to be, surely, to have a credit to the album.
Let's have a look. What does a bass engineer do?
Because in my mind, you've got someone who's running into like the studio, like helping to tune the strings and to make sure that the setup on the loop pedals or whatever is all like, configured to the artist. But I guess like a roadie.
So
he's googled it, guys and girls.
That's not right. It's giving me bass as in B-A-S-E.
It's all about the bass. B-A-S-S.
Bass engineer helps you composing bass guitar grooves and solos. No matter if you're a professional musician or just a music enthusiast, it will help you think out of the box and unlock your creativity.
Like I guess a creative consultant, but specifically for bass.
Yeah.
Maybe. Interestingly, they called it engineer, though. I mean, I don't know what else you'd call like a creative consultant.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay.
I suppose it's get the best out of Mark Hoppus and his...
Yeah.
Well, we know Mark can play the bass. He's very good.
Yeah.
Maybe is it finding the right guitars and the right tones? I don't know. There's probably more to it than that. But then that's what a lot of the engineers do anyway, the recording engineers. So.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. Artwork, we've got Eric Hayes, who did the logos. Lake Hills did the layout. And on photography, you've got Daniel Roas, Clementine Rui, Jack Bridgeland, and Sky Hoppus. Sky is Mark's wife. Studios used, we've got the Waiting Room in Los Angeles, Jupiter Sound and Area 69 in San Diego, and Khalifa in Los Angeles again. And the album runs for 44 minutes and 35 seconds. Unless you got the deluxe version. I didn't get the runtime for that one, which is the 2 extra tracks, which at the time of recording dropped yesterday.
They're roughly about 2 minutes 30-ish, give or take.
Yeah, so you're probably looking at about 48 minutes.
Something, yeah.
49 minutes. One More Time has been promoted by 6 singles, which was Edging, which came out last year. One More Time, More Than You Know, Dance With Me, Fell In Love, and You Don't Know What You've Got. So Alex, let's set up the track listing.
Yes.
So let's kick things off with Anthem Part 3. I've put fast pace opener, anthemic close to the song.
Yeah.
I quite liked the xylophone or the bells in the mix in the final chorus. It sort of gives it a bit of sparkle. Mm-hmm. Quite nice. And the line that really stuck out to me was Mark Hoppus. He sings, "No one gave a fuck that you died."
Yes.
So I was like, so what could that possibly mean? So I went through, Reddit and all the forums. And this is what I got. It's about a man who was scared when he accidentally posted the photo of his cancer treatment on his main Instagram. That everyone online would tell him, "Good, you deserve to die."
What?
So he obviously had some issues with self-esteem and recognising his own self-worth. But actually, again, referring back to the Zane Lowe interview, everyone was very supportive.
Right.
But yeah, he genuinely had that fear that people were going to go, "Oh, good," because you know what the internet's like, full of trolls and
hate
and arseholes.
Bloody hell!
Any thoughts on Anthem Part 3?
Apart from the human race are terrible when it comes to the internet, but I mean we've talked about that before.
Yes. Oof. Dance With Me.
I like this one. I really like this one. It's good. Is this the one with the hook?
Ole, 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 ole.
Yeah. I love it. It's a bit of fun. It's a bit different, right, to usual Blink? Is that fair to say? Because it's... Yeah. Or is it not? I don't know. It feels like the chant there is more playful than usual.
I mean, you get more of a na, 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 na.
Yeah. That's what I'm kind of mean.
Ole, ole was different.
It is.
I've put high-tempo party song and the chorus could belong in a football stadium.
100%.
I would love to hear Fratton Park singing ole, 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 yeah, we're doing it all night. But it's not going to happen.
You never know. Petition.
We can all but hope. The hook is instantly memorable and is silly enough to have been a relic from Blink's most popular era act. Song had been out a day when they played it in a wild Italy crowd who joined in unison.
Oh, amazing.
You have to see the video. I think they were in Milan. It's so good.
Wow, okay.
Got some little tidbits as well. So Travis Barker posted, "When I teach masturbation, I'm always just like, have fun with it," was originally an outtake from another song that didn't make the album. Dance With Me was already mixed and mastered when I decided to add it to the beginning of the song. Mark's pre-chorus vocals lyrics are one of my favourite Mark moments on the album. Tom's outro post-chorus vocal was almost the chorus, but the simplicity of ole 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 was undeniable, and I switched it back to being the chorus.
Yeah, lovely.
It works. It just works.
It does.
I think someone on YouTube did do that, what Travis had said. It doesn't work.
Oh.
It sort of feels a bit out of place.
Yeah.
Fell in Love.
I love this.
Shrewd callback as it interpolates The Cure's hit Close to Me, 1985.
Yeah.
Robert Smith also featured on this song, as he did in 2003. He was on All of This. And fun fact, he joined them at Wembley to sing Boys Don't Cry.
Oh, wow.
And Blink regularly shared their adoration for the new wave icons. In the Zane Lowe interview, Hoppus noted how seeing bassist Simon Gallup in The Cure's Just Like Heaven video is what spurred him to pick up the bass guitar.
And it's probably why I like the song so much, because it probably does have that kind of that 80s vibe that's probably quite subconscious. It wasn't something I just listened to it because I think I think last time we met up, you're like, oh yeah, the album's coming out. I think the following day I was like, oh yeah, the album's out. I'm going to go and stream it on Apple. And I was there doing some work. I was like, this one's an absolute banger. And
you actually messaged me.
I messaged you. Well, it wasn't really in response. I think I ignored your message before.
We're all
I
busy.
just typed you and said, Fell in Love is an absolute banger.
Yeah.
And then responded to the actual last message that you sent. But it's such a good track, and it's one of my favourites for sure.
It took me a while to get into it because when they released it as a single, I thought this isn't really that special, but it has grown on me.
Right.
There's just something very catchy about it, and not every song needs a distorted guitar. It's all very clean guitars. It's really nice. And I actually put arguably Blink's most mature love song ever. Because let's be honest, I Miss You isn't a love song.
No. And they're quite the opposite from mature. But I mean, they pride themselves on not taking themselves seriously.
No. On to Terrified. I actually love this song. So this was originally supposed to be a Boxcar Racer song. And it's sat on a hard drive for some 20 odd years.
As you do.
Typical small verses, as you would expect from a Boxcar Racer song. Big choruses. I've put I love the bridge. And it transports me back to 2002.
Great year.
Sort of angsty Tom DeLonge vocals as well.
I was thinking more Britney Spears in her red catsuit on Mars. That's 2002.
Yeah.
Great year for music.
It really was.
Christina Aguilera being dirty? Was that too early? I think that was 2002.
No, I think that was about 2002. What was the...
It's MTV era, see? We had...
Moulin Rouge, or was that 2001?
I think it was one.
Yeah.
We had Sky TV for almost the first time. I think it was the first time. We had it quite late, so we didn't have cable. Couldn't get cable where I lived. In the suburbs of South London. But we get Sky. We got Sky, and it was the best thing ever. There was the games. Do you ever get Sky in the old Sky boxes?
Yeah.
And you get the like the very basic, like almost Space Invader-esque, low res graphics, very slow, and the input was on your remote.
It was the arrows, wasn't it? And
Yeah.
The button in the middle, yeah.
But it would cost to almost like do dial-up with it.
Yeah.
And like I think my dad got like a £5 charge because I was playing it like constantly throughout the weekend. It came through like additional charge. Like what is this? I mean, small graces. It wasn't porn, which later on might have been a problem. I'm not saying committing to the airways, but I'm saying boys will be boys with the adult channels and the 900 channel range. But what I'm saying is it could have been that, but it wasn't. It was innocent
purely
gaming.
playing games.
So yeah, choke up the fiver, Dad, because it could be a lot worse. It could have been 15 quid for a Grady Television X programme.
Yeah, 100%.
But at least we talk about that the better.
Yeah, love Terrified. Mark Hoppus actually said, my old ego would have rejected the Boxcar song out of hand, but this whole album was about getting past all that shit and just making music. It turned out so good. And I couldn't agree more. One More Time. I'll put somber, driven by acoustic guitar and piano. It's very personal. Lyrically, might not mean much to a casual fan, but if you're a hardcore fan, it probably hits you in the feels. I remember listening to it when it first released. Thankfully, I was working from home. Got the old YouTube on and watched the countdown go, and then the video came on, and I got a bit misty-eyed. I'm not going to lie.
And this is the one where they're playing on like some kind of fancy background screen thing, and it kind of flickers all through the main parts of their career. Is that right, that one?
Yeah.
It's a really good album. Yeah, it's a very melancholy song, but it's a very clever track, and I think it's quite a serious one for them. In as much as it's not talk about dicks and other things. I like it. I think it's a good mellow tune. Does hit and feels.
Doesn't need anything heavy as well. I've actually noted no heavy drums, and Travis typically just plays the snare with brushes. Yeah. It's very subtle, and this is so like basic of me. I like the craftsmanship of a song, but it's that resonating tubular bell at the end.
Yeah,
it's something quite haunting about it.
Is it not a bit Boxcar-ish? But I mean, when they first came out, Boxcar. Do you know?
Yeah, I suppose it would be. It's almost got that.
It's almost like when Boxcar came out, and it was like Yeah, and then there was like a bit like Panic or Panic at Disco. It's almost like that simple but raw, angsty kind of vibe. I'm there for it. Again, 2002, Alex loved that kind of that music, but it almost feels like that era.
It really does. I mean, there's a lot of... I mean, we'll talk about it in our final thoughts. But it does sort of draw on a lot of their experiences as musicians. On to More Than You Know. I know I loved this when they dropped this at the same time as One More Time. Piano intro into your typical guitar riff of octaves, played by Tom, obviously. I really liked that Travis Barker is playing a double bass drum. So you'll have like two pedals like...
Oh, right, yeah. I think I saw him again on the reels practicing. You're messing up my algorithms, mate.
Sorry about that.
There, but he's really good, and yeah, I think he's practicing, and he's got the double bass drums, and he's got a simple snare or something he's tapping. It is quite impressive.
I actually really like the angsty Tom vocals in the sort of pre-chorus, where he's like, black lines across my face. I can't remember the words. I'm on the spot now, but sort of very like aggressive, I suppose. And then the bridge, I put the bridge is an abrupt calm before breaking into the final chorus. So it sort of feels a bit out of place, but they did it with violence back on the self-titled album in 2003.
Right, okay.
So Travis actually said the bridge section of More Than You Know was inspired by black coffee. He's put it in capitals, so I don't know if that's a reference to a band or if he just literally was drinking black coffee. The whole song is sort of disruptive and different in the best ways, but still sounds like Blink-182. A lot of people asking if More Than You Know has double bass. The answer is yes. The reason is, why not? I've never recorded double bass on any songs, and I might not do it ever again in the future, but this particular song called for it. It made the chorus part of the song feel like Motorhead to me. Long live Lemmy. On to Turn This Off, which is a typical 23-second Blink dick joke song, where Tom declares, if you're offended by these words, then please fuck off. If you're an arsehole with a dick, then that's something I can lick.
Yeah, that sounds about Blink-182, doesn't it?
It's just very like fast-paced.
Yeah.
And it sort of brings you back to that sort of jokey side of them. before lifting off with When We Were Young, which is an absolute banger.
Yeah, I agree.
A classic Tom riff to open the song. It's just big, it's anthemic. I really like the bridge. And the bit that sort of really messed me up is the fact that the chorus is played in the time signature of 7/8 and then goes into 4/4 again. So just sort of explain time signatures. Your typical pop song is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
This chorus is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. It sort of it will really sort of throw you off when you listen to it.
Okay, makes sense.
It's very like I don't know. I don't like time signatures. I'm a basic bitch when it comes to writing music. I always write in 4/4. I can't do all that stuff.
Which is
just not
1,
clever.
2, 3, 4, 1,
yeah.
2. Okay.
Just feels a bit more natural.
Okay.
But it's a banger. That's
well, I guess one is more rhythmic than the other. No?
Yeah. The only time Blink ever played with another time signature was in Asthenia, and the bridge is in 6/8. I remember trying to play that song live at college when I did music performance, and it's really fiddly.
Yeah.
Yeah, horrible stuff.
Don't
play around with time signatures unless you're a metalhead.
Not to be messed with unless you know what you're doing.
No, exactly. On to edging. I've just put, been out a year at this point, catchy enough, but it's a safe, mediocre punk song compared to some of the songs on this album.
Fair.
That's all needs to be said. You don't know what you've got. I've put a mid-tempo burner with a melody similar to Bore to Death, an Adam song.
Okay.
And there's a lyric that I pulled out actually. This poison skin you can't touch. And I think it's Mark referencing about having chemo. He talks about it in the Zane Lowe interview.
Right.
So after he'd have chemo, his wife wouldn't be able to use the toilet he'd used for a few days, just in case there was radiation in the water.
Oh, really?
And one drop of, the splashback, if that's what you want to call it.
Okay.
Not that I'm saying she does monstrous poos or anything like that.
Wow.
But, bit of radiation, that's not good.
Okay.
But it's very, another very sombre song.
Yeah.
But I like the guitar tone, especially in the opening riff. Blink Wave. This is an interesting one. And I've just put, basically, this is what Blink would sound like if they were an 80s new wave band.
100%.
It's like they went, hey, do you remember that time we wrote Always in 2002, 2003? Wouldn't it be really cool if we did another 80s song? It doesn't quite hit that same heights as Always, but it's good. It's catchy enough. This is one of your favourites, Alex.
It is.
Bad News.
No, I did another bad thing here. It was having a particularly busy week, and you'd shared your notes with me. And again, I just spewed this consciousness into the phone because I was like, I've got to tell Dan this because I'm actually doing my homework, and I'm listening to it. And I said to you, Bad News is a raw but a fun track, in brackets, reminiscent of NFG's Sticks and Stones.
Yeah.
And sure enough, you put in the notes, sounds like a mix of...
It sounds like the love child of a song from Cheshire Cat, which is their album back in 1994, and a Newfound Glory song. And
I think it is, and I think that's why it's fun. It's a particular tempo that's akin to Newfound Glory, which is usually quite fast. And yeah, it is a raw sounding track compared to some of the other polished ones, but I thought I think it's a great track. And that might be just because I've got simpler taste down than you in terms of pop punk. I'm a purist when it comes to early 2000s pop punk, but it kind of harkens back to that period again.
Yeah.
Which the more and more we talk about it, sounds like that's kind of what they were aiming for, because a lot of their music sounds like, millennium music.
Yeah. I like Bad News. That's grown on me. I sort of struggled with the opening riff, but actually the more I've listened to it, the more I've gotten into it.
It's cracking.
Mark's a great vocalist. Onto the interlude called Hurt. I've put, sounds like an early Angels and Airwaves song that could belong on We Don't Need to Whisper, which is the first Angels album. it just sort of felt a little bit abrupt, like the way it ends. Like I sort of wanted maybe a little bit more. I think it's like 1 minute 22. But yeah, just I don't know, a bit lazy.
Do you reckon?
I think so.
Or
am I just wanting more?
Is it intentional to kind of wake you up as you're listening? It's like not more of the same. It's that's kind of finished.
Yeah, maybe. I like it. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know. Just feels incomplete.
Yeah.
I might change my mind. You know, the album's only been out time of recording, a week.
Yeah.
Give or take. On to Turpentine or Turpentine. Is it?
I don't know, mate. I think it's Turpentine, but
initially I put, is this a serious sounding joke song? It's epic, by the way, because you got the lyrics: soak your clothes in kerosene, cleanse the mind of ketamine, slide your mum on top of me, wash yourself with turpentine. And then the final chorus is: like me like a trampoline, stick your dick in Ovaltine, snort a bag of Dramamine, douse yourself in gasoline, throw up in a limousine, jack off to a magazine, wash yourself in turpentine. God damn it. So I don't really know the answer, but apparently someone said it's almost like an existential questioning of, I don't know. Let me just find where I read that.
It is a strange song, it must be said. Perhaps you don't need to read too much into it, no? It's just, it is what it is.
The lyrics tackle profound existential questions, feelings of alienation and self-destructive behaviour, resorting to humour to overcome the pain.
And who wrote that? Do you know?
That came from Blink-182 Italia on Instagram.
All right. Okay.
So I don't know where they got that information from, but they were obviously close to the band, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Interesting.
It's a great song, though. Fuckface might be one of my most favourite 27-second songs from Blink-182 ever. Just Travis Barker singing, "Shut up, you talk too much."
Sometimes you all feel like that. Sometimes you just want to flip a table and shout those words at someone's face.
Sharing vocals with Tom, and the guitars were by Tim Armstrong from Rancid.
Okay.
That makes sense. Other Side. Love this song. I put, it's an upbeat banger. The vocal melody in the chorus is so good. Opening riff sounds like a call to the bridge from Damn It. Back in '97 from Dude Ranch. Now there is a bit of a backstory to this. So once you get the background, it makes it more, not interesting, I suppose it feels a bit more heartfelt. So I found through YouTube, someone had commented, he said, this song is about Mark's bass tech who passed away last year. He had a coffee company called Stage Right Coffee Co. And after knowing that, it makes the chorus hit so much harder. Incredible song.
I think I've heard about that, yeah.
And also, just try not to look into it too much, Mark plays Stage Right.
Right, okay.
It won't be the same Stage Right. So
it won't.
Referring to the coffee company, or playing Stage Right, Coffee Life, coffee shop, yeah. But I love it. I think it's a great song. And then we've got 3 more tracks. So got Childhood.
I really love this.
I've put a sleeper song.
It is. It's mellow, and I think it's a great one to fade out to. I wasn't expecting it, because I think as I got towards the final third of the album, I don't know what part or what song that was. I was kind of, maybe I was just in the zone of working as I was listening to it. And Childhood came, I was like, immediately noticed a tonal shift, and I was like, okay, I'll kind of tune back into it. And the way it just faded out, I thought was just a wonderful, beautiful way of finishing what is quite a chaotic album.
Yeah. And
it was such a stark contrast. It almost sounds like I know what I'm talking about. But I think it's such a stark contrast to the rest of the album, and I think it's a wonderful song. I really liked it. I think as I was typing my notes out to you, that one hit, and I was like, oh yeah, don't forget Childhood.
Yeah,
that's a really good track, and I think it's such a good. It's so good, and then it obviously looped back around to Was It One More Time. I then went back to Childhood. Was like, no, I need to listen to that again because that's such a good. Because it's very rare these days. I find that an album, the first song is almost complemented by the last, and vice versa. Like, it's a complete kind of 360. And what I mean by that is, like, again, NFG, they're very good at doing it, and they'll have like the big rousing anthemic crowd pleasing songs when they're playing live, and they'll finish on like a much mellower, chilled out track. And then if you got it on repeat, it'll come back around and hit you again. You're like, oh my god, this is amazing, and you'll continue that loop because you'll go through that journey, and they'll finish wonderfully on Childhood until there was the deluxe edition, which we'll talk about in a second. And you go, oh, that was lovely fade out. I guess with Mark, is it who's singing?
Yeah, I think it's Mark. Or both of them.
And then you go, oh, that's cool. And then was it One More Time as this first track?
It was Anthem Part 3.
Anthem Part 3. And it comes in and just hits you again. You're like, oh, yeah, great. Yeah. And you go through that ride again. I think that's how I listen to albums. It is quite traditional end to end, but I think that's why it's such a good one to kind of finish on, because it kind of hits you again. You're like with renewed vigour and interest when you hear then track one. It's... Yeah, I think it's a quality track.
And what I meant by a sleeper song, I said, eventually achieve unexpected success after initially attracting very little attention.
Right, yeah.
I've put dreamy and chilled, but I quite liked how one Redditor, if you've ever been on Reddit, that's what I mean by Redditor, described it as a warm breeze of melancholy nostalgia of a lost youth I hadn't even realised was gone. That's very poetic, isn't it?
Also depressing. You haven't realised that your youth has escaped you.
Yeah, well, I feel the same, and I'm 38 in a couple of months.
Don't look a year past 50.
Thank you. Very kind. I've also put Blink channeling some Sgt. Pepper Beatles vibes.
Yeah.
So we should probably talk about the deluxe album songs.
Yes.
Which we've been quite fortunate to hear. First one, Cut Me Off. I've put edgy chorus, but nothing overly special. Bit of a B-side song.
I won't be as disparaging to say it's a filler, because it's not. It's more than filler, but I think it is a B-side.
I feel like it belongs, but maybe not. I mean, I can see why they probably released it later as opposed to putting it on the main album. Yeah. And then the second song was See You, which is Angels and Airwaves meets Blink-182. Not keen on the synth-heavy intro, which isn't doing much for me, but I quite like the chorus. So that leads us on to our overall thoughts.
It does.
What's your overall thoughts?
Unexpectedly Millennium themed. I think it's got an interesting balance. I mean, I haven't listened to too many, as you can probably hear in the things I'm saying, too many Blink albums, but when I think about the ones that I have heard, it feels like a good mix of kind of a culmination of all the things I've gone through so far. And I won't profess to know all of their individual solo projects and their side gigs and side bands, but it kind of feels like this is some of the journey they've gone on, whilst kind of almost going back to the original. It is that musical journey, and how they have either not matured or have matured in the things they're singing. But I think if you look through the thread, it ultimately goes back to, I think, the first couple of albums.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it kind of resonates with me, kind of not quite touching base with them over the last couple of years, and actually finding something of interest, because I think it's got something for everyone in it. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. Unexpectedly so. I think it's very balanced, and there was only maybe 3 or 4 tracks that I was like indifferent. But that's equally as the track listing as it is the individual songs themselves. I think it's very well structured and put together, and punctuated with some absolute bangers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like it.
I wouldn't say it's their best album. That crown still belongs to 2003's self-titled album, but I'd say it's definitely up there. It's a strong return, but I felt it was a culmination of their music careers. Now, whether that was sort of old Blink-182 or a bit of Boxcar Racer, Transplants, Angels and Airwaves, Plus 44, and probably more recently for Mark, which was Simple Creatures. It sort of pulls a lot of those things together, and it got this album.
Yeah.
Now, not to dig at Neighbourhoods from 2011, you could tell that was a very disjointed album. They still weren't quite on good terms. I mean, the album's phenomenal, but this feels like, they're back. They're communicating their friends first and foremost, and they've gone, right, we're going to do things differently this time, and we've only got one more chance of making this work, and this is what we got.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is a very good album. I don't think I could ever put the album on from start to finish and skip a track, because every song's so different and so good. Which probably means we should talk about the critical response from all the major outlets. So I'll choose a handful. So we've got AllMusic, which gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Clash gave it 7 out of 10. The Guardian only gave it 3 out of 5. What do you know? The Independent, even worse, it gave it 2 out of 5. Kerrang gave it 4 out of 5. Enemy gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Rolling Stone gave it 4 out of 5. And I've got sort of snippets from some of these outlets. Rolling Stone reviewer Mayor Georgie gave the album high marks, observing, as always, Blink-182 are at their best when they are channeling punk rock energy and wailing tongue-in-cheek couplets against choppy guitars and Barker's driving rhythms. Kate Solomon from The Guardian felt that despite the nods to mortality, Blink have not lost their knack for crafting thumping choruses, which we've talked about.
Yeah, which is fair.
Spin's Bobby Olivia felt the explosive album delivered. This reconciliation feels fresh, fun. It's still the band's best work in 20 years. Enemy reviewer Emma Wiles found the album a full circle moment. The issue is, however, that it perhaps lacking in variety. And then last but not least, Helen Brown of The Independent dismissed it as hardly revelatory.
But I don't think it's supposed to be.
It's not a career-defining album.
But I don't think they're looking to do anything new. I think that's the whole point. It's melancholy and it's a retrospective. So I think that's nonsense.
Yeah, no, agreed.
Get in the sea.
Shut up, Helen. What do you know?
Fuckface.
Yeah.
I don't know her.
Shut up! You talk too much. You talk too much.
Is that what we say? That's what we say. It feels like that's what we should say. Yeah.
Fuckface.
Yeah. Sorry, Helen. I don't know you. I'm sure you're a nice person.
Please don't sue us.
No. I'm just saying what they would say.
Just bringing punk angst to the pod.
I'm channeling Blink-182.
Yeah, it's got to be done.
Yeah.
On to the listener. Right, first up we've got Luke. He says, it's Blink to make the elder emos wink.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. I'm an elder emo now. Shit.
Yeah.
Christ.
Right on the money, though. Yeah.
Next up we've got Tom. He says, couldn't be anything other than unreal, could it? Anthem Part 3 was an awesome touch. It's a good opener, to be fair.
Yeah.
Next up we've got Brendan. Quite an extensive review from Brendan. He said, I've only listened to it once. Usually like to give it at least 2 listening before reviewing. However, on the whole, I think it's a bit average. I think there are some really good parts on it. Really like the first song in Blink Wave, but I think the poor bits outweigh the good. I also think it's a bit rushed. I think they could have spent a good month or 2 on it. Production-wise, I don't really rate Travis as a pop-punk producer. His hip-hop stuff is outstanding, but not a fan of his pop stuff.
Interesting.
He does an okay job again, some better than others, but I think it's missing a John Feldman, etc. So John Feldman helped produce California 9, which was the Skiba era of Blink-182 while Tom was doing his thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a massive fan of John Feldman as a producer. I do feel like sadly he's no longer with us, Jerry Finn, who did a lot of the Blink albums from Enema all the way up to self-titled.
Okay.
But hey, that's my opinion, but I'm not going to dig into everyone else's. I'll talk about opinions at the end. We've got Todd next. He says, best song on the new album is not as good as the worst song on 9, Bring Back Skiba. Blink Wave is the most interesting, so between that and Turpentine.
Interesting. That's
quite brutal, really. The best song on the new album is not as good as the worst song on 9. That's going to hurt. What's wrong with Tom DeLonge?
Apparently he's not Matt Skiba.
Well, I mean, Matt Skiba, again, I don't want to dig too much into people's opinions, but Skiba couldn't really play Tom's stuff.
Yeah.
He's a better singer, and he's a good songwriter. And again, Tom's very honest about this in the Zane Lowe interview. Like, Alkaline Trio is a brilliant band, and that's where he needs to be. I don't think Skiba really was ever going to stay in Blink for as long as 2 albums. Or beyond that. But hey, that's my opinion. Next up we've got Joey. He says, I'm yet to give it a full spin, but I like the energy from the singles.
Fair.
Next up we've got Zach. He says, on the whole, I'd say I enjoyed it. Didn't blow me away. Probably could have dropped a few songs to make it stronger. Terrified, Turn This Off, Bad News are my faves.
Yeah.
From a different band, I think it would be seen as a really good album, but Blink standards are very high. I'd agree with that, actually. So it's just average with a few bangers that will be added to my playlist. Next up we got Carl. He says, I listened to it once, loved it with the headphones, played it in my car, didn't appreciate it. Very midsy. It's good though. Lost interest in the jokey songs. The serious ones are fairly good though. Some of them feel like they are in their 20s trying to impress girls. Mixed bag of feelings for me. Now, I've heard this, that sometimes it sounds better through headphones or instead of through speakers, or vice versa, and there's something to do with Dolby Atmos.
Yeah.
Apparently it sounds better if you've got it on, or it sounds better if you've got it off. It's all down to...
I think on Apple Music that I stream it through, I think it's automatically all as default on. And actually listen to it on overhead earphones.
Yeah.
A simple pair of Sonys, and it sounded banging. But then, yeah, I don't... And this is the thing, like, different albums sound differently. I think... Was it Zach to say that?
That was Carl.
I think Carl's spot on in terms of a different album will sound differently depending on where you're playing it. And maybe it is more geared up for that kind of that Dolby over experience.
Yeah, for sure. I preferred it off, but again, it's just personal preference at the end of the day. Who cares? I suppose just enjoy it for what it is.
You do you.
Yeah, I've listened to it in the car, and I know what he's saying. It sort of lacks that oomph.
Yeah, that punch.
But hey, I mean, unless you're a boy racer with proper gear in your car with the proper speakers and I don't know. What do I know?
And then you're probably not playing Blink if you're doing that.
No, probably playing like horrendous music, like
90s dance. Nothing wrong with that. I love a bit of 90s dance.
Do you?
Yeah, trance.
Do you dance to it? Do you get down and dirty on the dance floor?
No, not anymore. I can't remember the last time I went to a club.
I never enjoyed clubbing, to be honest.
No, I agree. I'm more of a bar and pub person.
Yeah, same. When I was at uni or college, I always preferred going to the pub. You could talk and mingle with people.
Yeah.
But whenever we went to places like Route 66 on the corner, I hated it. Sticky floors, you couldn't really hear. You couldn't really have a goss. Yeah, it was just never for me.
I just found in those kind of places, you didn't feel safe looking around. There's lots of dark corners, and there's lots of things going on in those dark corners. You're like, I don't know where to look. Like, probably like a rabbit in headlights. That's why the way I looked. But yeah, it wasn't for me. I just, like an old man, just preferred to sit in the Wetherspoons, having my pounder pint with my curry.
Good times. Or steak on it. Was it? No, curries were a Tuesday, wasn't it? Or was that steak? I can never remember now.
Curry nights was Wednesday, I think.
Yes, that's it. I think steak was a Tuesday.
Yeah.
What a time.
Yeah.
Next up, we got the Utopia Project pod. Shout out to you guys.
Yeah.
It's an absolute belter start to finish. All the playfulness of the Take Off Your Pants and Jacket era combined with the artistry of the Untitled album. That's a really good analogy. It's fan service, it's heartfelt, it's new, but yet familiar. A big warm cuddle with a cheeky finger up your bum. And that comes in from Chunky T at TUP.
That's interesting.
Can't say I've ever had a cheeky finger up my bum.
Don't know what you're missing, Dan.
I don't, would you know?
Who knows?
We'll never know.
We'll never know.
Finally, we've got Dan. He says, the 90s called. They want their pop punk band back. That's my review. And I love Heart.
There's nothing wrong with that. I agree.
No. Going back to the opinions, Mark Hoppus actually posted on, I think it was Threads or Twitter, he said, anyone is allowed to dislike any or all of our music and can say so on here. As long as it's respectful and in good faith, you're allowed to state any opinion you may have. And that's why I didn't really want to shit on anyone's opinion going through the listener stuff.
It's fair. They're all valid.
They are indeed. And that wraps up for our One More Time review.
It does.
What we got coming up next? What are we doing?
Well, last week we did Halloween, which was particularly spooky.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed that. If you haven't had a listen, it's a meaty 2 hours something, but it's a really good one. So take it in installments if you need to. But go get back into the Halloween mood because it's such a good episode. We really did have lots of fun doing it.
You don't even have to be in the Halloween mood to listen to it. There's some good stuff. It's all about paranormal investigating and there's some really nice backstories and how Southern Ghost Society was founded.
It's a fair one to make, actually, Dan. It's released as our Halloween episode, but actually you can just listen to it as a standalone, and in fact you should do. So there's that. What have we got coming up? We must have the Marvels, I guess.
Yes.
To have it on the go, and then the film review.
We'll have Loki season review.
Sex Education season
3. No, 4. So nice. Season 4.
Before then, we start to look towards our Christmas lineup.
Oh, I love December. It's one of my favourite times on the pod. We'll have a Christmas special as per usual. I think this year we're going to do some awards.
Yeah, it'll be awards season over at OTT Central.
Going to get our tuxes and ties on and grab a bottle of champers.
Yep.
Our favourite films, favourite albums, favourite singles, artists, actors, actresses, dickhead of the year, hero of the year, all that good stuff. And then
it's going to be great.
We'll have our Christmas message, which we always release on a Christmas day.
Yes.
If you don't want to listen to King Charles, you can listen to us.
You can.
And then on to most anticipated 2024.
Yeah, that drop in the first weekend of January.
Talking to you about this before we went on the mic. So we've been on fire since you've been back from holiday.
Yeah. At some point we'll burn out. At some point we will burn out. But until then, we've got to ride that wave.
We have. We're having a great time.
It's busy. Lots to talk about, but I guess, look, listener, if you're like, none of that floats my boat, I want to see, I don't know, a review of Barbie, you might be waiting a while. But nonetheless, we will take requests, and in fact, some of our favourite episodes have actually been requests. So, if people have a request down, how can they get in contact?
We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok, which is at On The Topic Pod. And if you want to get in touch by email, we're on the topic podcast at gmail.com. And if you follow any of those socials, there will always be a link to our voice messaging service on Anchor. So you can drop us a message like some of our previous listeners and get involved.
Spotify for podcasts, actually.
Oh, it is now, isn't it?
It's not Anchor.
Oh.
There you go.
There we go.
Got to move with the times down.
Yeah, I need to get with the times.
Indeed.
Alex, we've got YouTube and WordPress.
Yeah, WordPress, our website, ontopicpodcast.wordpress.com. Go give it a visit, see our ugly mugs, see our bios, and you can actually stream to all of our back catalogue, all the way back from the weekly roundup days to now. It's all on there, and there's some bonus content for some of our more latter episodes of recent times. Hit the subscribe button, you'll get a newsletter and you'll be notified when a new episode drops. Alternatively, you can do the same on YouTube and you can stream us in the background. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been plenty of people streaming us, so you can see the numbers. So clearly you lovely people love to listen and I guess watch us whilst you're living your lives.
Yeah.
Living your best lives.
Just my artwork on a screen.
It's lovely.
We should probably try and find a way to get our faces on there at some point.
I don't know if the public are ready for that.
Nah, yeah.
We'll see. Let us know. Drop us a message. And let us know if you want that. But anyway, we're on at OTTGITS or On Topic Podcast, and you can smash that subscribe button and a notification bell. And again, you'll be notified when your favourite episode drops from yours truly.
Absolutely. But that's it.
It is.
That is it for another week. I'm that cool, my little fucked in the head. I'm Dan.
For one more time, come dance with me and then turn this off. I've been Alex.
We'll see you next time.